Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The co-feature on closing day at Kentucky Downs is the Franklin-Simpson Stakes, going 6.5 furlongs for $300,000. Bet it with a DRF Bets account. You get a 300% deposit match when you sign up for a new account, bets.drf.com. Here's the field again, 3-year-old sprinters in the Franklin-Simpson Stakes. It is a big field. The morning line favorite, Matt's the number 10 Angiston, who really found himself when Lon Wiggins turned him into a turf sprinter. Last time out, maybe a little bit overmatched against some salty older horses.
Yeah, you've seen that Kentucky Downs preview turf sprint's already come back productive. Extravagant Kid, the runner-up, he came back. It was the next out winner up at Saratoga with a 92 buyer. I agree. It feels like since they've turned this horse back, he's just blossomed and turned into a different animal. I guess the question now becomes ultimately, this configuration is a little bit hit or miss for certain horses. 6.5 furlongs. It's a far cry from what he's been doing in each of these past 4 starts, and now I'm going to be very interested to see, does the additional distance, does that work to his advantage or perhaps sort of level things out and make him vulnerable?
Distance might be a question for Angiston. Surface could be the question for the number 12 Honorable Treasure. At first I thought, what a interesting spot, to say the least, for Ken McPeek. This horse just exploded with the addition of blinkers on dirt at Saratoga, winning with a 98 buyer speed figure. You thought that a stakes race on dirt was coming down the road for Honorable Treasure, but I guess there aren't a lot of opportunities to run for $300,000 against straight 3-year-olds. Back to turf for Honorable Treasure.
And I guess that's one of the things, you've always got in your back pocket. If this doesn't work, go back to the dirt with them. There are going to be other opportunities. I will say, I see Two Honor and Serve, and he's by Bernardini, and I look at it, and I'm a little bit wishy-washy on the turf. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to look and say, well, they debuted him going long in the turf. Keep in mind, Kenny McPeek, that's always been a move for McPeek up at Saratoga. When he wants to get distance into his 2-year-olds, they don't run 2-turn 2-year-old races on the main track. So they run them long on the turf, turn them back onto the dirt. I think that's the only reason that he tried the turf at that point in his career. Speed
could be coming down from the inside. Let's take a look at the Timeform U.S. Pace Projector. They got the 1 Shang Royal, the 6 Battle Station competing for the early lead. Shang Royal is stakes play sprinting on the turf. That was when he was in the Wesley Ward barn. Claimed from Ward for $50,000 last time out. He ran in the Quick Call Stakes, and not only did he catch Yielding Going, but boy, he caught a world of trouble.
I like what you did there. He certainly did. World of Trouble, you can make the case he's going to be arguably one of the favorites for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint based on what he's done in that race, the Quick Call, and then he came back this past weekend and earned a 103 buyer winning. So this is a horse, clearly, he's been facing better horses. The concern that I have with him is ultimately the distance. I'm not convinced that 6.5 furlongs is going to be his friend, although I do think there's a real scenario where he is the controlling speed in here because, to be honest with you, as much as I think you've got a horse like Battle Station that has some speed, he doesn't have to have the lead, and I think they're going to be content sitting just off.
I agree. I think Battle Station will be sitting second under Johnny Velasquez. I think this is the first card that Johnny Velasquez has ever ridden at Kentucky Downs, and while we know he's great, I wonder if this configuration will be somewhat confusing, even for a tremendous jockey like Johnny V. That being said, Battle Station should be comfortable with the 6.5, and this horse just looked good last time out, winning at Saratoga, beat a couple of next out winners, and although one of them had to drop into a $40,000 non-winners at 2 Life, that horse won with a 98 buyer for Jason Service.
He's been keeping good company, facing older horses in that most recent run, and really, I don't think you can find any really disastrous races on his card. I understand that Sleepy Hollow, you want to draw a line through that, but I think he's been rock solid in every one of his starts, and it feels like turf, this is really what his best game is. He's capable on the main track, but this is his game. I agree, I don't think the distance is a problem. I think he works out the perfect trip. To me, he is strictly the horse to beat.
Formulator fact for his trainer, Wesley Ward, over the past 5 years, last out winning 3-year-old turf sprinters off a small layoff, 38% winners and a $2.50 ROI. Sitting in third on the pace projector, the number 8 Get Western, a horse that's earned 80 buyer speed figures in his last 3 races. Not bad for a $1,000 yearling. Goes out for Charlie Lepresti of Wise Dan fame.
Yeah, like you say, 3 consecutive 80s. That makes me think that we've plateaued a little bit, but keep in mind, we haven't seen this horse since the middle of July. Maybe you get a forward move here off a little bit of a layoff. My concern, his only victory to date, and I realized 2 starts back, he sat a little bit and actually made a move and hit the front. His only win to date is coming gate to wire fashion. I just have a hard time believing he's going to be remotely close to the front end. I think, like you say, the pace projector, that sort of third, fourth position, I would imagine that's where he is.
Finished directly behind a horse that came back to run third again at Kentucky Downs with an 82 buyer. That horse also still eligible for non-winners of 2 Life. Funny Duck's going to get back on the turf. You understand why Rusty Arnold ran this horse on the dirt. He pulled off a shocking upset in the Grade 3 Pat Day Mile, and since then it just hasn't worked out for Funny Duck. But I think originally he was going to be a turf horse, and we've got a nice formulator fact for Rusty Arnold. Past 3 years with 3-year-olds moving from dirt to turf in sprint races, 44% winners, a $6.73 return on investment. This one showed a little bit of tactical speed on turf. I think they got really obsessed with turning him into a one-run closer on dirt after that successful run in the Pat Day Mile. I'd like to see him a little bit closer.
Yeah, I guess here's the tough thing. I don't know what to make of this horse because I don't think he's particularly good based on what we've seen so far, not to be rude, but I think everyone looked at that Pat Day Mile and they all said, well, where did that come from? You were 40-1 and you blitzed the field. Happened to be the only time he's caught a sloppy main surface, so maybe that was really what woke him up. But his turf form prior to that wasn't terrible, and that was early on in his 3-year-old year. So there's a part of me that says, you know what, I may not love this horse, but I think you at least have to acknowledge there's a scenario where maybe this is actually what he's wanted to do all along, and maybe you're going to get the best version of Funny Duck.
The number 2 is Bantu, who couldn't take advantage of a very fast pace scenario, according to Timeform US, as the favorite last time out. Now, I know the horses that ran 1-2 in front of him were older horses, but the horse that finished second, Mr. Darcy, was setting that fast pace. I really wanted to see Bantu at least pass that horse in the lane. It's nice that he's earned, buyers in the low 80s in his last 2 races, but I still think he needs to improve.
I do too, and through 12 lifetime starts, I'm just not entirely convinced that you're going to get a big forward move in here. I think it is interesting, this turn back in distance. He had the big pace to run at going longer. How far back is he going to be early on in the portion of this run?
First time turf for the number 11, Not Away, by Twirling Candy, who does extremely well with first time turf runners, 19% winners. And if you go back in this female family, it is the family of Indescribable, a graded stakes winner on both turf and synthetic. This horse has run some okay races on synthetic in the past. It'll be interesting to see what we get from Not Away. I do like him cutting back in distance.
Yeah, agreed. But to be honest with you, I think you're going to have to bank on the fact that there's a scenario where he jumps up on the turf for the first time, because based on what he's done through 9 lifetime starts, you're looking at nothing more than a fringe sort of contender for hitting the board and spicing up some exotics.
Get the feeling that the connections of the 9, Mr. Ashley, taking a shot for this big purse, because it looked like this horse has found himself on the dirt. Coming into this race off 2 consecutive wins on dirt, buyer tops of 87. It looks like he could be on the cusp of being sort of a listed stakes horse on the dirt, but boy, they're going for the big money here on turf. I'm not sure this is his surface.
I'm not either, but I don't really fault them. Take a shot here. Like you say, how often are you going to have an opportunity to run for this kind of money? He's paired up buyer tops. If he could handle the turf, and look, I understand he didn't run well in the race at Kentucky Downs last year, but I think that was just more a product of him just getting tired at the end. He showed some versatility. These past 2 starts, he's won on the lead and sitting just off of it. Look, I don't think he's entirely without a chance in here at a giant price. He may not be a very likely win contender, but if you want to just take a stab, why not a horse that's in good form?
Not sure that the 3 King Valero is good enough to win a race like this, but I think he's in really sneaky form, and he's a horse I would consider underneath at a gigantic price. Big winner 2 starts back against weaker non-winners of 2 Life Company, but they hiked him all the way up last time out against VC, who came back to run 3rd in a graded stakes race at Kentucky Downs last week with a 93 buyer speed figure, an older horse. I think King Valero's in good form, and again, I'd fool around with him underneath. He has a win over this surface.
He's another one. I don't think he's good enough to win, but like you were alluding to, maybe he's that kind of horse that can run 3rd in your trifecta and turn it into a giant sort of payout. Like I said, not good enough, I don't think, to win, but he could certainly hit the board.
Blinkers come off the 4 Navy Armed Guard, who ran pretty well in his career debut here at Kentucky Downs last year. He ran in a synthetic race most recently. I really didn't love that performance. The Bruce D Memorial, he was 100-1 in his prior effort on the turf. I think he's okay. It's just that I think his trainer, Joan Scott's trying to figure out what he is. Is he a turf sprinter? Is he a dirt router? They've run him in a couple of graded stakes races. Is he a synthetic horse? He has a little bit of speed.
I think you can look at it and say he at least got a little bit of fitness, hopefully, out of that most recent start coming off the bench, and maybe second start out, you're going to get a good version. You brought it up. I don't think he faced a very good field. The blinkers coming off now. I think it's worth noting. I think it's very unlikely that he is as forwardly placed as he was in that most recent run. Timeform US had all of those fractions color-coded blue. I'd imagine he's going to be more mid-pack than anything.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Franklin-Simpson Stakes. Your top selection might have a really nice value ring to it at 12-1 on the morning line, because his first two starts this year on turf for George Weaver were very, very good. And then last time out, A, he caught World of Trouble. B, he caught a very wet turf course. I just don't think he liked it at all.
That's kind of, look, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I chased a little bit of Majestic Dunhill. I liked him most recently in that quick call, and like you say, I'm hopeful it was just more a matter of World of Trouble and some yielding ground. The run 2 starts back, I thought it was very impressive. I liked everything about it, considering the traffic that he had to overcome. I wouldn't have faulted him at all if he were in 3rd or 4th in that spot. Instead, he comes and gets the job done impressively. Like you say, he really hasn't done anything wrong in those two. He had paired up 80s. I was hopeful for that sort of new buyer top, and for one reason or another, it didn't happen. Maybe it comes this time around. I'll admit I'm not totally convinced about distance for him, but at the same time, he ran 6 furlongs at Laurel last year as a 2-year-old and finished just fine. I think he's interesting at a price. Maybe not a likely win contender, but I think he does have a puncher's chance.
And I do think he can be a little bit closer to the pace. It wasn't the greatest start for him last time out over that yielding turf course. He is a really interesting value play. Matt's top pick. Give me numbers.
5, 6, 10, 12.
I'm going to go with Battle Station. You mentioned he's probably going to sit the right trip. He's going to sit second off of Shang Royal. I think he's better equipped for the distance than Shang Royal. I think there is a scenario when we hit the quarter pole of this long European stretch that he's going to have the lead. We'll see. 4-1 on the morning line. Boy, I take that. I'm not sure I'm going to get it on the 6. Battle Station. One of 2 stakes races at Kentucky Downs on Saturday. Bet both of them with a DRF Bets account. Sign up, get 300% the deposit match at bets.drf.com. Approximate post time for race number 8, the Franklin-Simpson Stakes, 4:58 Central. Best of luck.